My name is Chris, and I'm here from Bitbond, and I want to talk to you today about how you can get a small business loan on Bitbond. First of all, let me just say, if you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to leave a comment on the events page or send me an email at chris@bitbond.com. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you might have. And yeah, I look forward to a lively discussion with you after the webinar is finished. So how can you get a small business loan on Bitbond? Well, it's really easy, and we'll be talking about that today, and I'll take you through the steps that we all need to take. But first, I think it's important to look at, when is a small business loan the right choice? Well, it's a really important question, because not always is external financing the right choice. There are certain instances that can happen when a loan can actually harm you. So, for example, if you are a retailer and the profit margins on your products do not effectively cover your costs, then there's something wrong with the core operation. The core operations at the heart of your business that need to get sorted out before you get out a loan. In a situation like this, it's not advisable to get a small business loan at all. So when is it a good choice to take out a small business loan? Well, there's three major reasons. The first one is to finance revenue growth. Take, for example, or imagine you're a small business owner and you're very successful, but there's a gap between the payments that you receive and the stock that you sell. And this is a time period where you are lacking liquidity and you cannot keep up with the demand. So in order to keep the supply up with the demand, getting a small business loan is a really good idea. On the other side, if, for example, you are selling, if you're a small business, very small, say you sell 20 pairs of shoes a month, and you want to increase that to maybe 20 pairs per day, then you probably won't be able to do that from your home anymore. You will need a space. You will need somewhere to keep your stock. In this kind of situation, a loan is a very good idea, because it allows you to get the space that you need to keep the stock in order to grow your business. The second reason is to bridge short-term liquidity gaps. So if you're a small business owner or you're an online seller, you will be aware of seasonal fluctuations. So say we have a loan on Bitbond right now. The borrower is an eBay power seller, and she makes some money selling novelty ribbons that people then buy and put on cars and bigger presents. As you can imagine, this kind of item, this kind of product, is very seasonal. So during Christmas and in springtime, she will see a massive increase in demand. After these periods, the demand for her product goes down significantly. Now, in order to hit the track running, she needs to be able to get a loan to finance the purchasing of the stock prior to the demand increasing. So she knows that business is going to take off during the Christmas period. So she knows that prior to Christmas, before the demand increases, she needs to have the stock ready. She needs to have it there even before she's received payment for the stock. So this is kind of a classic example where a small business loan can really help you. The third reason I think it's a good idea to take out a loan is to buy larger orders. Now, I think any small business owner or any online retailer will be aware that if you buy 10,000 of something, it's usually a lot cheaper than if you buy 10 of something. A lot of the time, small business owners and online sellers find it very difficult to fund these larger orders from simply the profits that they're making by selling some sort of product or service. So this is another really good example where taking a loan, a small business loan from Bitbond, for example, can help you buy in bulk and finance larger orders, and then take advantage of the discounts that you get as a consequence of that. So now we know the right time to take out a loan, the right reasons to take out a loan. So what are your choices? Well, you can either go for a bank loan or you can go for a peer-to-peer loan. And I have to say that I'm not a huge fan of the bank loans. And there's a reason for that. Actually, there's several reasons for that. The first one is the lack of availability. Now, there's 2 billion people in the world who do not have access to a bank account. They're called the unbanked, and that's a huge number. Simply people who cannot simply go to a bank, who do not have a bank account. So it's a huge proportion of the people, of small business owners, relatively speaking. The second is convenience. So say you're lucky enough to have a bank account. You, as a busy small business owner or online seller, do not have the time. You cannot sacrifice a day or 2 days or 3 days out of your working week to have to trek to your local bank branch, perhaps make multiple trips, multiple visits, talk to multiple people, fill out many forms. That is simply really inconvenient and something to be avoided. The third point is the rejection. So say you're lucky enough to have a bank account, and also say that you've gone to the inconvenience, the massive hassle of having to go to the bank, your local bank branch, and actually applying for a loan. The chances of you actually getting the loan are still relatively small. In the UK, for example, in 2007, the rejection rate for small business owners was at 70%. Now, that percentage has significantly decreased since then, but it's still quite high. The fact of the matter is that even if you go to the inconvenience of taking out a bank loan, there's still a high chance that you will get rejected, especially because banks still, surprisingly, do not have the capacity to accurately assess the creditworthiness of small businesses and online sellers. They simply haven't kept up with the demands of the digital economy. So what is your alternative? Well, as already mentioned, I think that peer-to-peer loans are a great alternative. Here we have an example from Sudhir, who's an e-commerce entrepreneur and eBay seller from India. He just talks about the convenience, the availability, and the less restrictive nature of peer-to-peer lending platforms. So what do I mean specifically? Well, first of all, peer-to-peer loans are available globally. I'll go into that in a bit more detail later on. Secondly, peer-to-peer loans are incredibly convenient. You can do it from the comfort of your own home without ever leaving your chair, which is fantastic. The third part is that because many peer-to-peer lending platforms like Bitbond have implemented innovative scoring mechanisms, they can take data points that the banks cannot use and therefore more accurately assess your creditworthiness, which means that although we might not be less restrictive, we make more accurate assessments of your creditworthiness, something that the banks simply do not do. So now we know that it's a good idea, or we know when it's a good idea to take out a loan, and we know that peer-to-peer loans are better. So why is it a good idea to go through Bitbond? Well, I think Bitbond is the perfect solution for several reasons. The first one is the availability. As already mentioned, Bitbond works on the Bitcoin network, which means that it's available internationally to anybody with an internet connection. The great thing about this is that the 2 billion people we talked about earlier now can have access to working capital. You do not need a bank account to get a loan on Bitbond. The second thing is the convenience. Anybody with an internet connection from the comfort of their own home can take out a loan on Bitbond. This is a fantastic innovation, in my opinion. The third thing is because Bitbond uses Bitcoin as a payment network, we cut out the banks, and as a result, the fees are significantly lower than they would be with many other peer-to-peer lending platforms. The effect is that your loan is cheaper on Bitbond. The fourth and I think final and really important point is that the interest rates on Bitbond can be significantly lower than on local competitive platforms and even banks. If, for example, you're located in Brazil and you want to take out a bank loan, the real interest rates in Brazil at the moment are around 23%. Now, that's per annum, but Bitbond charges as little as 1% per month, which is significantly less than what you would be charged by a bank in Brazil. Correspondingly, if you're located in India, the interest rates are similar, it's around 24 to 25% if you get a bank loan. As already mentioned, the Bitbond is 1% per month, which is much cheaper. I should also indicate that it starts from 1% per month. It can be higher than that. So now we know that Bitbond is a really good solution in terms of peer-to-peer loans. What does a loan on Bitbond actually look like? Well, it's quite straightforward. We provide personal loans for small business owners. The loan amount tends to be up to $10,000. The application is free. Terms range anywhere from 6 weeks to 5 years with monthly installments. It's important to note at this point that you can choose your loan term. So when you publish your loan request, which we'll go to in a minute, you actually get to choose if you want to, pay back in 6 weeks, if you want to pay back in 6 months, if you want to pay back in 36 months. It's totally up to you. As already mentioned, the interest rates start at 1%, but can go a little bit higher than that. The next point I think is really important because I already mentioned it, but we actually implement a really innovative credit check. Specifically what this means is that we look at the online accounts that you connect to your Bitbond account, and we use the data that we find there in order to accurately assess your creditworthiness. So in real terms, as an example, what this means, if you are selling products or your services on eBay, for example, or Amazon, or any marketplace you choose to mention, you can connect that account with your Bitbond account, and we will see, okay, this guy is a really good seller on eBay, he's a really good seller on Amazon. And consequently, somebody with perhaps 1,000 positive feedbacks on eBay or Amazon will get a better rating and lower interest rates than somebody who perhaps does not have positive feedback on eBay or positive feedback on Amazon. The final point I think is really important. We've mentioned Bitcoin a couple of times, and I know that there's some negative connotations associated with Bitcoin. The important thing to understand is that although we use Bitcoin as a payment network, actually most of our loans are denominated in US dollar. And what that means is that you get the efficiency of Bitcoin, but you get the security of the dollar. So the value of Bitcoin, the price of Bitcoin, can be completely irrelevant to the value of your repayments. So you do not need to worry about the price of Bitcoin at all. Again, if you have any questions about this, please leave a comment on the events page or send me an email. And I'll be more than happy to kind of clarify that and link you to a blog post that we've written about it. Cool. So now we know what a loan on Bitbond usually looks like. What is the application process? What will you actually have to do? Well, it's amazing because really there's 7 very easy steps that take a total of less than 15 minutes. And if you compare that with the hours or maybe even days that you would have to travel to your local bank branch, then this is fantastic. If we even just consider Sudhir, who we just saw, he's somebody who said that he travels, or he had to travel hours to get to his local bank branch. Here on Bitbond, you can do the whole thing in 15 minutes. So I think this is a really important and really innovative step. And as we can see as well here, the 7 steps that I've outlined, they are very simple. So you enter your personal details, you enter your contact details, really very basic stuff. Point 6 is something that is worth elaborating on, the identification session. So if you want to take out a loan above 0.9 Bitcoin, which most likely you will do, then you will have to go through a video session with a security officer. And really, it's just 2 minutes, and it will simply be a live video session between you and a security officer who will verify your identity. You will have to show your passport and a couple of other things just to verify your identity and make sure that our investors are protected. So this is what it looks like. This is a screenshot of the application process as you will see it. It's important to understand that once you've filled out these 7 steps, we will get back to you within about 24 hours with a credit rating. Our credit ratings range between A for the very, very creditworthy and the F for the least creditworthy. Fs are very rare, so don't worry about that. But yeah, we will get back to you within 24 hours with your credit rating. So now you have your credit rating. What is the next step? Well, the next step is to publish a loan. And it's very simple. You simply enter the amount that you want, the loan term that you want. So whether you want to repay your loan over 6 weeks or 6 months or 36 months, whatever you choose. And a really important point that I think still many borrowers at the moment are not paying enough attention to is the description. You will be able to explain in a detailed and informative way what your loan is about for investors who visit your loan listings page and are unsure whether they want to invest in you. And this is really important because investors on Bitbond really value transparency. They really want to know who you are. They really want to know what the loan will be used for. So if you are planning on getting a loan on Bitbond, make sure that when you're publishing your loan, you write a really informative, a detailed description, and if possible, perhaps provide links and to relevant sources so people can check up, and make sure that you're as transparent as possible. Another point that's really important is that, or that's important to understand in my opinion, is that simply publishing a loan is not enough. There needs to be, there are certain factors that go in to investors' consideration of your loan. So a couple of things that can really help you. One thing is to connect as many accounts, online accounts, as possible. So this means, for example, your eBay account, your Amazon account, your PayPal account, your Facebook account, your Twitter account. Simply because, first of all, we use a machine learning algorithm which can take every data point and evaluate it. So even if you say, okay, I have an eBay shop from 4 years ago, it only has 10 feedback, why should I connect that? Well, because actually our algorithm can take those data points and work with them. That aside, though, for the investors who visit your loan listings page, seeing connected accounts is a sign of confidence. It's a sign of transparency. So it can really help you get your loan funded. It can really help convince investors that you're somebody who's trustworthy and somebody who is worth investing in. Another thing you can do to get funded is to send me an email at chris@bitbond.com and ask for an interview. Now, if you've ever been to our Bitbond loan listings page, you will see that at the very top, there usually is one or maybe two loan listings that are colored beige. And these are simply borrowers who have agreed to an interview. And we see an interview on several perspectives. The first one is that it's a great sign of transparency and openness. If somebody is willing to communicate with us, an interview, and provide an interview and give answers, and maybe even provide some images, and we can then publish that on our blog, that's a great sign of confidence. This means that this borrower is somebody who is willing to be open and transparent. That's a great sign. On the other side, the openness aside, actually being listed at the top can be really helpful to getting funded. We've seen this time and time again, that borrowers who are listed at the very top usually get priority from investors, especially when compared to borrowers who are at the bottom. So being at the top can really help you. Additionally, we actually link to your loan listing on the interview, which means that everybody who visits our blog will click on that interview and will see your loan and will be able to click on it, which is a fantastic boost. So that's definitely something to keep in mind now that your loan has been funded. The next step is to withdraw your Bitcoins. So once your loan is funded, you will go into your Bitbond account and you will see that your account has been credited with the funds that you received. It's important to understand here that there was a threshold of 60%, which means that if you get funded up to 60%, you will receive your funds. So say you wanted a loan of $10,000, but investors only invest $6,000 into you, you will still receive that $6,000. If the funded amount goes below the threshold, so 59% or lower, then the money or the Bitcoin are automatically redistributed to the investors. In such a situation, you can simply reapply for a loan, perhaps change your description, perhaps add a couple of social media accounts, and or perhaps even go for a slightly smaller loan amount. Right, so the Bitcoin have arrived in your Bitbond wallet, and now you need to do something with it. Now, luckily, actually, there are plenty of online of websites that now accept Bitcoin as a payment network, as a payment. So you simply can use your Bitcoin without ever having to exchange it if you want. If, however, you want to convert it into fiat, what you can do is you can go to the blog post that I've written on how to convert your Bitcoin loan to currency of your choice. And you can find out what the most effective and most efficient way is to exchange your Bitcoin into the currency of your choice. If you're located in the US, then Coinbase is a really good idea. If you're located in the UK, then Circle is very good. Both these services are well funded and actually provide free exchanges into pound and dollar. If you're located in Latin America, then you could perhaps try local Bitcoins. No matter where you are, though, you will find an exchange that suits your purpose in this blog post, so do check it out. So now that you've withdrawn your loan and you've exchanged it into the currency of your choice, it's really important that you now use it to aid your business. So whether it's any of the three factors that we talked about, whether it's to bridge a liquidity gap or whether it's to finance revenue growth, simply because by growing your business, you will make your money back and you will be able to repay your investors. And this is a really important point, repaying your loan. This is a really easy step, which really just involves you taking the Bitcoin that you've exchanged at an exchange previously and crediting your Bitbond account on the day of your payment. So you will see on your dashboard, you will see a repayment schedule, and in that repayment schedule, you will be able to see the amount that you need to repay and also the date. And it's very important that prior to that date, maybe 1 or 2 days beforehand, you make sure that your Bitbond account is funded with the correct amount of Bitcoin. Once your Bitbond account is funded with those Bitcoin, it is dispersed automatically. So you actually don't need to do anything. It's really convenient and really quick. If you're located in the SEPA region, what you can do as well is you can simply go to your Bitbond dashboard, and then you can click on Buy BTC. And we will actually allow you to simply buy Bitcoin on our platform. So you don't even need to exchange it through a third party. This is a really cool feature that's still relatively new, but I do encourage you to try it out simply because the fees are very, very low. They're actually, I think, among the lowest in Europe, and it's really convenient. So now that you've repaid your loan, you might consider getting a new loan. And there's a couple of things that you need to keep in mind here. The first thing to keep in mind is that you cannot get a new loan while you have an ongoing loan. This is for security reasons, simply because it's a bad idea to give borrowers more than one loan at a time. Once you've repaid your previous loan, you can then get a new loan. And this is highly encouraged, and I think it's a really good idea, simply because once you have repaid your loan on the platform, it will appear. People will be able to see that you've repaid a loan. This is a great confidence booster to any potential investor. If they see that you have a good reputation on the platform and they see that you've repaid a loan previously, they will be more likely to trust you and invest again. Additionally, we might also consider giving you a better rating or lower interest rates, or perhaps even both, simply because we know that you are a creditworthy borrower who can be trusted. So we've kind of covered now when it's a good idea to get a loan, why you should go for a peer-to-peer loan instead of a bank loan. We've covered why Bitbond is a really good idea for small businesses and online sellers, and we've gone through the application process and the repayment process. Thank you all very much for joining in, and yeah, I look forward to your questions.